What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be covering how to do a mullet with a skin taper. Just like we start any fade, we're starting with that clipper all the way closed. We want to make sure we keep this line pretty low. This is a little bit of a mid to low taper. After that, we just want to bring in the trimmer, knock this down. The trimmer part's pretty quick. And then after that, we're taking on the next guard, which is the 1.5 guard, all the way closed. We're putting a pretty sizable guide here because we do have the half and the open blade to fit there. And that brings me to my next guide, which is going to be the open blade half. We're going to put that guide in there first, and then we're going to slowly close our way down and blend that into the original 0 that we put in first. So now we still have a line here, which is the open blade half to the 1.5 guard closed. And we're going to get rid of that with the half guard all the way closed, and we're going to slowly open that up until it's completely blended. We don't want to push this line up too much. We also can bring the 1.5 guard back and just tap it a little bit, making sure that top line is a true 1.5 guard. Once that's fully blended in, our next guard is going to be the 2 guard all the way open. We're going to take about the same size that we took with that 1.5, pretty big section here. This guard is pretty important because it's when the darkness starts to come to the fade. We do not want to go too high up because we don't want to cut those long hairs on top, because we do want to keep this a little bit disconnected. And then if there is a little line underneath that, just take your 1.5 guard again, close it, and then slowly open it up until that line is completely gone. For the last guard we're using the 3 all the way open. Once again, we're going to take that all the way around the C cup, and as you can see, I'm holding the long hairs from the top, disconnecting it from the side, and I'm kind of going with the grain on the back above the ear just to make sure we don't cut any of those long hairs. To line things up, we always start with the corner right by the eyebrow, and then we go underneath to the sideburn and wrap it around in a bit of a circle formation. Just want to make sure everything stays nice and clean, nice and sharp. It's going to bring out that taper, make everything look nice and finished. So with the lineup done and the fade all done, all that's left is to cut the top and the back to complete our mullet. Now with that being said, if you have come this far into the video, I really do appreciate you watching. And if you do get some value out of it, I really appreciate it if you left a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment if you have any suggestions for future videos. There are plenty more videos scheduled to come very, very soon, just like our regular schedule of Tuesday and Friday. Last Tuesday I missed a video. As you can hear, I was getting over a bit of a cold, but we should be all good and ready to go to maintain our schedule. Now to start blending in that back part of the mullet and the top disconnection that we have into the taper that we did, we're just going to use some thinning shears just to hit a little bit of that weight there. We don't want to take too much off of there because he does have a pretty good amount of hair in the back there. We definitely want to keep the length. We want to make sure that line isn't as prominent. So to start cutting the top now, we're going to throw some water in the top and the back, and then the process on cutting the top and the back is very, very similar to what I usually use, and that's starting with that front length. In this case, we're not taking much off. This is about 1/4 to 1/2 inch. Just gonna knock out the front section here, go all the way from left to right. Keep in mind it is disconnected, so we're not fully blending all the way down to the sides. It is going to be a bit longer. And then we're going to do that mohawk part right down the middle and bring that all the way to the back and back down the back a little bit. And just like I say in all my other videos, with the scissor cutting, we're just going to take these 2 sections, the left and the right side of this mohawk part, and we're going to cut off all the excess length that we see there from the middle guide that we have in the middle of the head. So the main difference from a regular haircut that's just long on top to the mullet that we have hair long on the back as well is that we're just extending the top all the way around the back as well. Just like what we do on the top with that mohawk part, we're gonna do on the back as well. It's just your hand placement and how you're cutting that's gonna change to make sure you're not gonna actually cut your fingers or anything like that. I don't really know what they're called, these angles that you hold your hand at, but what I do know is they work for me. So as long as you emulate it, everything should be okay. Just go nice and slow, because this is definitely how you can cut your fingers. I've done it many, many times, and it is definitely not fun. So this is the angle that I'm talking about, where I'm just getting that initial length at the bottom, just like how we do in the front of the hair when we get our first initial length. This is exactly what I'm doing at the bottom here. This is the same exact mirror image from the front to the back. We're getting the initial front length here, which is technically all the way at the back. Hopefully that's not too confusing. And then we're just gonna take that all the way across, make sure it's nice and even, and use cross sections and double check, cross check, because we want to make sure everything is nice and even, so we have a perfectly laying mullet and nothing out of place. So to style this type of hair, what I'm going for is a messy look, and for a messy look, I always go for a diffuser. He does have straight / wavy hair. We want to try and get as much of that out as possible, make it look as curly and messy as we possibly can, and the diffuser is really going to do that. It's just heat. There's no air to straighten or pull the hair in any direction. It's really just to dry the water that's in the hair and the moisture that's in the hair out, and then it's going to look nice and have that perfect messy look without being too shiny or anything. There's really no need for products or anything like that. But that will get us to our final look that I have coming up in a few seconds. But before we get to that, like I said before, I really do appreciate you watching. And if you did like this video and found it helpful, I really appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and thanks for watching.